The night before Dedan Kimathi was born, a storm raged through the highlands of Kenya, rattling the modest homes of peasant families who toiled on land no longer their own. In one of these homes, a young widow wept quietly, her tears blending with the relentless rain. Her husband had passed away a few months earlier, leaving her to face an uncertain future with their unborn child. She named the boy Dedan, a name that would come to resonate with hope, rebellion, and sacrifice. Kimathi grew up among the lush hills of Nyeri, surrounded by stories of ancestral lands taken by British settlers. Even as a child, he was drawn to words, filling his notebooks with verses and stories inspired by his people's struggles. At school, his talent for poetry and debates quickly set him apart. Teachers marveled at his sharp mind but often clashed with his defiant spirit. Dedan bristled under the strict discipline of colonial education, which sought to mold him into a submissive worker for the British system. When he was expelled for challenging an authority figure, it was both a punishment and an opportunity. Kimathi took odd jobs, including teaching, but his rebellious nature led to dismissal after dismissal. Even a stint as a soldier ended with him being discharged for insubordination. Each job loss deepened his frustration with the colonial order. By the late 1940s, Kenya was simmering with discontent. Land confiscated by British settlers left many Kikuyu people impoverished. Kimathi joined the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, KLFA, commonly associated with the Mau Mau movement, a clandestine organization that sought to reclaim the land and dignity stolen from them. Within the ranks, his eloquence and charisma quickly elevated him to a leadership role. Even amidst the chaos of rebellion, Kimathi's pen remained active. By the dim light of campfires, he composed poetry and essays, rallying his comrades with words as much as with weapons. His writings were smuggled out of the forests and circulated among sympathizers, igniting hope in the oppressed and fear in the colonial authorities. For years, Kimathi led daring raids against British forces, employing guerrilla tactics that confounded the colonial military. From their stronghold in the Aberdare and Mount Kenya forests, the Mau Mau fighters struck at farms, police posts, and supply lines, disrupting the colonial economy. The British, in turn, unleashed brutal counterinsurgency campaigns, including mass detentions and executions. But Kimathi and his fighters endured, sustained by their unyielding belief in the righteousness of their cause. In October 1956, Kimathi's luck ran out. He was ambushed and captured by colonial forces. Gravely wounded, he was taken to a colonial court where he was sentenced to death. The British framed him as a terrorist, but to his people, he was a hero. On the day of his execution, Kimathi was granted a brief meeting with his wife, Mukami, who was herself imprisoned. His last words to her were both a farewell and a declaration of purpose: "I have no doubt in my mind that the British are determined to execute me. I have committed no crime. My only crime is that I am a Kenyan revolutionary who led a liberation army. Now if I must leave you and my family, I have nothing to regret about. My blood will water the tree of independence." On February 18, 1957, Dedan Kimathi was executed. His body was buried in an unmarked grave, a deliberate attempt to erase his legacy. Kenya gained independence in 1963, but Kimathi's sacrifice was conspicuously ignored by the first two presidents, Jomo Kenyatta and Daniel Arap Moi. Kenyatta, wary of the Mau Mau's radical legacy, distanced his government from the movement. Moi followed suit, ensuring that Kimathi's name remained absent from official commemorations. Meanwhile, Mukami Kimathi and her children lived in poverty, forgotten by the nation for which her husband had died. In July 1990, Nelson Mandela, newly released from prison, visited Kenya. To the embarrassment of the Kenyan government, Mandela asked to meet Mukami Kimathi. Officials scrambled to locate her but failed. Mandela's request, however, reignited interest in Kimathi's legacy. Over time, public pressure mounted, and subsequent administrations began acknowledging Kimathi's role in Kenya's struggle for independence. In 2005, 15 years after his first visit, Mandela returned to Kenya. This time, he met Mukami and Kimathi's children. The moment was deeply symbolic, a giant of the anti-apartheid struggle paying homage to a fellow African revolutionary whose sacrifice had been long overlooked. Today, Dedan Kimathi is celebrated as a national hero. Statues, streets, and schools bear his name, and his story is taught in Kenyan classrooms. Yet his legacy is not just a tale of defiance against colonial rule, it is also a reminder of the enduring struggle for justice. Even within independent nations. As Nelson Mandela once said of Kimathi, he was a true African hero, one who believed in the dignity and freedom of his people. Let us never forget him.